20 indoor plants that grow without sunlight. Hello, herbalists! What if I told you that some of the most stunning, lush, and dramatic indoor plants you can grow don't need a single ray of direct sunlight? Plants that thrive in that dark corner of the living room, in the bathroom with a tiny window, in the office with no windows, in that hallway where you've been telling yourself for years that it's impossible to have anything alive. Most people don't know this, but while everyone else is killing their plants by giving them too much sun or stressing out trying to find the perfect window, there are plants that actively prefer shade. Plants that are genuinely easier to grow in low light. Plants supported by the biology of tropical undergrowth, where direct sunlight never reaches. And today I'm going to show you 20 of them that will completely change the way you think about indoor gardening. Stick around until plant number 19. They call it almost indestructible for a reason. It survived in mines and air-raid shelters. And plant number 20th is the most shade-tolerant of the entire list. Sitting in the corner of your room with its glossy, perfect leaves, it practically dares you to try and kill it. Like this post if you already own any of these. And subscribe. We post every week. There's something nobody tells you when you start having plants at home. They sell you the plant. They give you generic instructions, bright, indirect light, and you go home to look for that perfect spot by the window, which, it turns out, is already occupied by other plants or simply doesn't exist in your apartment. Then the plant dies, and the conclusion you draw is that you don't have a green thumb, that your house doesn't have enough light, that indoor gardening isn't for you. But the problem wasn't you. The problem was that no one had told you that there are plants that not only tolerate low light, but actually prefer it. Plants that have evolved for millions of years in tropical undergrowth, growing under dense canopies where direct sunlight is practically non-existent, and that have developed photosynthesis systems so efficient that they can thrive in the light conditions of any ordinary room. These plants exist, they're accessible, and today I'm going to show them all to you. This list ranges from impressive to absolutely legendary. 3 things to keep you going. First, there's a plant on this list that does something almost no other plant does. Every night its leaves slowly close, like hands clasped in prayer. Every morning they open again, in a dimly lit room, where changes in intensity are more subtle. That movement becomes almost hypnotic. And it's completely natural. Second, one of these plants produces such geometrically perfect flowers, with such an intense aroma, that people who see them in person for the first time think they are artificial. And it blooms in low-light conditions where no other flowering plant has any chance. And third, the last 2 on the list have been documented surviving in mines, windowless garages, and under fluorescent lighting for years without any other care. There's a reason they're the plants everyone recommends when someone says they can't grow any plants. It's because they're practically impossible to kill. Let's begin. Floor number 1, Gasteria. Gasteria species, the succulent that forgot it needed sun and thrives better without it. We'll start with a surprise. When people think of succulents, they think of desert, of blinding sun, of windowsills bathed in sunlight for hours. Gasteria throws all that out the window. This compact succulent produces thick, tongue-shaped leaves, sometimes speckled, sometimes banded, sometimes deep green, or mottled with white. It looks like something that should live in the Sahara. But unlike its relatives aloe and agave, Gasteria evolved in the shady ravines and rocky outcrops of South Africa, growing beneath larger plants and cliff overhangs. It literally evolved for shade. Most succulents stretch, pale, and collapse without bright light. Gasteria simply perseveres. It maintains its shape, retains its color, and continues to produce new leaves even in indirect or low-light conditions that would send other succulents into a slow decline. It's the perfect starter plant for anyone who has given up on succulents because they couldn't give them enough sun. The entryway plant that proves not all succulents need sun and opens your eyes to what's possible in the darkest corners of your home. Plant number 2, grapevine, grape ivy. Cissus rhombifolia, the overlooked vine for dark corners. More elegant than it looks and almost self-sufficient. The grapevine does not receive the attention it deserves. While everyone else is vying for window space for their golden potholes, this easy care vine with its distinctive lobed leaves patiently waits at the back of the nursery to be discovered. Cissus rhombifolia grows naturally on forest floors and along the edges of shady jungle canopies. Its leaves have a slightly glossy texture that captures the little light available in dark rooms, giving the whole plant a lush, vibrant quality. What makes it special? It's practically uniquely adapted to the kind of light conditions we actually have in most homes. No bright, indirect light. No direct sunlight. Just the ambient light of a typical room. It tolerates dry air, cool temperatures, and dark corners with a patience that most plants can't manage. Give her something to fall from a high shelf, or let her climb up a small stand. The plant that's been waiting in the nursery for years to be discovered. It's worth that discovery. Floor number 3, polka dot floor. Hypoestes philostachya, color in the dark. The only plant on this list where the shade intensifies the color instead of dulling it. Most plants with colorful foliage are sun chasers. The more light, the more intense the color. That's the general rule. The polka dot plant completely ruins it. Hypoestes philostachya produces leaves speckled with pink or purple against a green background. Some varieties look as if someone has dabbed them with a paintbrush. Others have leaves so densely mottled that the base color almost disappears. It is truly one of the most visually dramatic foliage plants you can grow. The trick is understanding that while you want reasonable light, you can't handle direct sunlight at all. Direct sunlight fades and burns those spectacular leaves. With filtered, indirect, or even quite dim light, the colors remain vivid and the leaves retain their painterly quality. In the dark, the color intensifies. The plant that proves you don't need sun to have the most colorful corner of your house. Plant number 4, Syngonium, arrow vine. Syngonium podophyllum, the transformer plant. Its leaves completely change shape as it matures, and it all happens in the shade. The Syngonium is one of those rare plants that becomes more interesting with age. Young plants have simple, arrow-shaped leaves, hence the name. But as the plant matures, those leaves transform. They develop lobes, then deep incisions, then finally a fully compound, multi-fingered form that looks like a completely different species. The Syngonium does all this in the shade. It is native to the forest understory of Central and South America, growing in the kind of filtered, diffused light that reaches the jungle floor. The varieties are spectacular: silvery green, pink, white variegated, and burgundy tinged. There's a Syngonium for every color scheme, and they all share that essential quality. They thrive in the low, indirect light conditions that many homes actually have. A long-term relationship worth investing in. It becomes more beautiful the longer you have it. Plant number 5, peperomia. Peperomia species. More than 1,000 species. It's not a plant. It's a whole world, and all its varieties share a tolerance for indoor life that borders on the extraordinary. Peperomia is not a plant. It's a world. There are over 1,000 species in this genus, and they come in an almost impossible variety of leaf shapes, textures, and colors. Round, heart-shaped, corrugated, striped, curly, burgundy, silver, green, cream. If you find a leaf texture you love, there's almost certainly a peperomia that has it. Peperomia evolved as an understory plant in tropical and subtropical regions worldwide, meaning it spent millions of years becoming very efficient at maximizing low, filtered light. It stores water in its thick leaves, so it tolerates irregular watering. It maintains a compact shape. The practical reality: most peperomias will thrive in the conditions of a normal indoor room, away from windows with ambient light, in spaces where you've been told nothing will grow. They don't need pampering. They don't need bright windows. If you're new to plants or have lost confidence after a series of failures, start here. Peperomia will rebuild your confidence in your ability to keep plants alive. Herbalists, we've got five plants that break the rules of what you thought was possible in your dark corners. Now come the ones that make people stop mid-conversation and say, "Wait a minute, is that real?" Indoor plants that look like they were designed by an artist, and which, ironically, prefer to be kept out of direct sunlight. Plant number 6, Calathea. Calathea species. Living art that prefers the shade. If there's a plant that makes people wonder if it's real, it's this one. If there's a plant that makes people stop in the middle of a conversation and say, "Wait a minute, is that real?" It is the Calathea. These plants produce leaves with such intricate, precisely drawn patterns, stripes, chevrons, feathers, watercolors of pink and purple, that they appear hand-painted. And they actively prefer to live away from direct sunlight. Calathea species are native to the rainforest floors of South America, where the upper canopy filters out virtually all direct sunlight. They have evolved to thrive in low light and humidity, and these preferences translate directly to the interior of the home. Place a Calathea in direct sunlight, and you'll see those beautiful patterns fade. Keep it in a shady room, and those patterns intensify. The colors become more vivid, the contrast more striking. They also appreciate humidity, making them perfect for bathrooms with limited natural light. And they practice that beautiful leaf movement, folding upwards at night and opening again in the morning, creating a sense of life and personality that most plants simply don't have. Living art in a green frame, constantly present, perpetually breathtaking, and it becomes more beautiful the darker the room. Plant number 7, bird's nest fern. Asplenium nidus, the lush focal point for dark rooms, real architectural presence without the need for light. Ferns and low light have a natural relationship. Think about where ferns grow in nature. Dense forests, canyon walls, sheltered stream banks where direct sunlight never reaches. The bird's nest fern takes that natural preference and turns it into one of the most structurally striking houseplants you can own. Asplenium nidus produces long, broad fronds with wavy edges that emerge from a central rosette. Mature plants can produce fronds nearly a meter long, creating a source of deep green that fills a corner with presence and weight. This is not a delicate or leafy plant. It's substantial, architectural, something you notice when you enter a room, and it thrives in low light. In fact, direct sunlight is one of the few things that will actually harm it, creating pale, scorched patches on those otherwise pristine fronds. Keep it in a dark bathroom, a shaded hallway, or any room where you've had difficulty finding plants that do well. The focal point for the darkest room in your house. It doesn't just survive there. That's exactly where it wants to be. Plant number 8, prayer plant. Maranta leuconura, the moving plant. Every night it slowly closes its leaves. Every morning it opens them again, in complete darkness. The prayer plant is the only one on this list that literally moves. Each night the leaves of Maranta leuconura fold upward slowly, gently, like hands clasped in prayer. Each morning they open again. It's a behavior called nocturnal nastic movement, triggered by changes in light. And in low-light environments, where the changes in intensity are more subtle, this movement becomes almost meditative. You find yourself observing it, noticing it, checking it. The leaves themselves are spectacular, red veins tracing intricate patterns against green backgrounds. Herringbone markings. The underside is a deep purple that shimmers when a leaf catches the little light available. The prayer plant earns its place in a dark room, both for its appearance and its behavior. It is one of the few plants that seems genuinely alive in a way that most houseplants simply cannot. A plant that looks genuinely alive in a way that most houseplants simply don't achieve. Plant number 9, cast iron plant. Aspidistra elatior. The name says it all. Molten iron. It survives conditions that would kill virtually any other plant. The name says it all. Cast iron. This plant didn't get its name as a compliment. It got it because generations of gardeners discovered through trial and error that it was essentially impossible to kill. Aspidistra elatior produces long, dark green, strap-like leaves on an upright plant that can reach between 60 centimeters and almost a meter in height. It has a formal, somewhat Victorian appearance, perfectly suited to the kind of dark, elegant interiors in which it became famous. And it survives. It genuinely survives. Conditions that would kill virtually any other plant. Low light, very low light, irregular watering, temperature fluctuations, dust, neglect. The cast iron plant overcomes it all. Botanical gardens have used it for over a century in their most challenging indoor spaces, dark corridors, exhibition halls, basement displays, because it simply doesn't fail. Research confirms that the Aspidistra has one of the highest tolerances for deep shade of any ornamental foliage plant. The plant you put in the darkest corner of your house and practically forget about. It will be there when you remember it, looking exactly the same as when you left it undisturbed. Plant number 10, Aglaonema, Chinese leaf. Aglaonema species, the colorful artist for dark rooms. It has been in homes since the Victorian era for precisely this reason. Aglaonemas continue to appear on these lists because they deserve it. These plants produce leaves painted with silver, pink, red, cream, and green in patterns that resemble marbled paper or stained glass. And they produce them in conditions that most colorful plants would reject. Aglaonema species have been popular houseplants since Victorian times. They were originally prized for exactly the quality we're celebrating here. The ability to bring color and drama to the dark interiors of homes where real sunlight rarely reached. The key relationship between variety and light. The greener the variety, the more shade it can tolerate. Solid green or green and silver varieties will thrive in very little light. Pinks, reds, and yellows need a bit more light to maintain their colors. But even the most colorful varieties need far less light than most plants. Bright, indirect light at most. Never direct sunlight. A century and a half of presence in dark homes around the world. If the Victorian era chose it for their rooms without natural light, they knew something. Stop for a moment, herbalists. We have 10 plants, 10 species that have evolved to thrive in exactly the light conditions found in most homes. Low, indirect, ambient. And what I find most valuable about all of this is not the list itself. It's the change in perspective it generates. That dark hallway that's been empty for years isn't a place where plants can't grow. It's a perfect habitat for them. That bathroom with a single small window isn't a gardening problem. It's exactly what the Aspidistra, Calathea, and prayer plant have been searching for their whole lives. Plant number 11, Dieffenbachia, dulcane. Dieffenbachia species, a large-format tropical drama in the shade. One of the few indoor plants that can reach 1.8 meters in low light. The Dieffenbachia earns its place on this list through sheer visual presence. These plants produce large, broadly oval leaves marked with cream-colored patterns on a green background. A mature Dieffenbachia in a dark corner doesn't just fill the space, it transforms it. These are not small plants. Over time, the Dieffenbachia can reach between 1.5 and 1.8 meters in height, producing a thick stem and a crown of spectacular, patterned leaves that gives it an almost palm-like silhouette. And it does all this with little to moderate indirect light. They are native to the rainforest soils of Central and South America, meaning low-light conditions are their natural habitat. Under typical indoor lighting, the Dieffenbachia thrives. The leaves maintain their patterns. The plant continues to grow. New leaves continue to emerge. Important note, the plant sap is irritating. Keep it away from pets and children who might chew on the leaves. Water when the top centimeter of soil is dry. Clean those large leaves occasionally. What begins as a modest plant grows over months and years into something genuinely monumental. Plant number 12, English ivy. Heterohelix, A climbing beauty from the ancient world, perfect for low light. Creates ambience on shelves and in dark hallways. English ivy brings a quality to interior spaces that's hard to name precisely. Something akin to atmosphere. The hanging stems with their characteristic lobed leaves cascading from a high shelf or draped over a bookcase create a sense of life and history that few plants can match. And ivy genuinely thrives in low light. Heterohelix grows wild throughout Europe in the undergrowth of dense forests, creeping across shady ground, climbing north-facing rock faces, growing in places where direct sunlight practically never reaches. It's not an adaptation. It's its preferred habitat. Indoors, this means ivy thrives in dark hallways, shady corners, and rooms with minimal natural light. Its growth rate slows compared to a well-lit location, but the plant remains healthy. Keep the soil evenly moist but not waterlogged. Cool to moderate temperatures are best. Ivy does not tolerate excessive heat well. Check occasionally for spider mites, its main pest. Let it fall. Let it drape. Turn ordinary bookshelves into something that looks like a corner of a botanical garden. Plant number 13. Hoya wax plant. Hoya species. Patience rewarded with geometrically perfect flowers and a fragrance that fills the room at night. The Hoya is a plant that asks you to be patient. For weeks, months, sometimes longer, it silently grows its waxy, deep green leaves through whatever low or indirect light it's given. It makes no dramatic gestures. It doesn't transform. It simply grows steadily in a way that's easy to overlook. And then it blooms. Hoya flowers are virtually unmatched in the world of houseplants. Geometrically perfect clusters of star-shaped blooms. Each flower so precise it seems manufactured. Many varieties are intensely fragrant, sweet, and vanilla-like, filling a room at night. Some have flowers with a porcelain sheen that makes them appear artificial. Once you've seen a Hoya in bloom in person, you understand why growers are obsessed with this genus. Hoya's tolerance for low light is genuine. It prefers indirect light and dislikes direct sunlight, which can bleach and damage its waxy leaves. In moderate to low light, it grows steadily and will continue to bloom, although more light encourages more flowers. The key: never move the plant once it has set a flower bud. Keep the potting mix on the drier side. The thick leaves retain moisture. It's forgiving of irregular watering. Do not move during flowering. Patience has its rewards, and in the case of the pot, the reward is something you wouldn't expect to be possible in a dark room. Floor number 14. Parlor Palm. Chamaedorea elegans, a tropical canopy in your living room. It's been thriving indoors for over 150 years for a reason. It works. In the Victorian era, a parlor palm was a status symbol. These small, elegant palms with their arching fronds and slender trunks were placed in drawing rooms, formal living rooms, precisely because Victorian drawing rooms were dark, formal spaces with limited natural light. They were chosen because they worked. Chamaedorea elegans is native to the rainforest understory of Mexico and Guatemala. It grew in the permanent shade of the upper canopy and evolved to thrive in the exact conditions offered by a Victorian drawing room. Indirect light, moderate humidity, and the careful watering that formal domestic environments encourage. A mature parlor palm, a plant that can take years to reach its full height of between 90 centimeters and 1.50 meters, brings a genuine tropical presence to a space without demanding the bright indirect light that most tropical plants require. Keep the substrate evenly moist. Avoid direct sunlight, which will burn the fronds. Fertilize lightly during the growing season. A plant with a genuine history. 150 years bringing elegance to dark interiors. And it still works just as well. Plant number 15. Heartleaf philodendron. Philodendron hederaceum. The most reliable of all. The one beginners discover and experts always come back to. The heartleaf philodendron is the plant that novice gardeners discover and experienced gardeners always end up getting again. It's not flashy. It doesn't have the dramatic pattern of a calathea or the sculptural presence of a monstera. What it does have is reliability on a level that borders on absolute. Philodendron hederaceum produces glossy, heart-shaped leaves on trailing or climbing vines that grow continuously under almost any indoor condition. The range of light it tolerates is truly impressive. from bright indirect light to quite dark conditions that most climbing plants couldn't handle. Research confirms what growers have observed for generations. This plant has one of the widest light tolerance ranges of any commonly grown tropical houseplant. Take a cutting with a few leaves and a node. Place it in soil or water. Within a week, you'll see roots forming, and within a month, you'll have a growing plant. Water when the top centimeter of the substrate is dry. Any room with some ambient light. That's really all it needs. A plant impossible to lose that keeps giving without asking for much in return. Herbalists, we have 15. The next 5 are the ones that everyone knows for their reputation, but few people understand why they are so extraordinary. And the last 2 on the list are the ones that have earned their place in the folklore of houseplants. Not for their beauty, but for something even rarer, their practically supernatural resilience. Plant number 16, ribbon spider plant. Chlorophytum comosum, the multiplying machine. It continuously produces baby plants. It gives you a never-ending gift. The spider plant has an integrated function that makes it feel almost generous. It produces baby plants, tiny seedlings that hang on long stems like ornaments. Each one is ready to be cut and started as a new plant. Essentially, it's giving you a continuous gift. Chlorophytum comosum produces arching leaves striped in white or cream, and those long, spindly stems that give it its spidery appearance. It adapts to an impressive range of light conditions, performing well in bright, indirect light, but also tolerating the low light levels of rooms without direct window exposure. What it needs is indirect ambient light, the kind of light found in most rooms that are normally occupied during the day. Under these conditions, it grows steadily, consistently produces seedlings, and maintains the variegation on its leaves. Water when the top centimeter of soil is dry. Normal ambient light. A single spider plant can become a collection in months. The plant equivalent of a renewable resource. A plant that becomes a collectible without you doing anything special. Plant number 17, Spathiphyllum, peace lily. Spathiphyllum species. The flowering plant that blooms in the dark. A promise that most flowering plants cannot keep. The peace lily makes a promise that most flowering plants cannot keep. It thrives in low light. It doesn't just survive in low light. It truly flourishes. Those elegant white spaths rising above the deep green foliage, in a dark corner, in a bathroom with a single small window, in an office with nothing but ambient light. Spathiphyllum species grow in the forest floor of tropical rainforests, where the canopy filters almost all direct sunlight. Flowering is triggered by the plant's internal cycles, not by the intensity of sunlight. This means that as long as the plant receives some ambient light, those beautiful white flowers can appear even in conditions where flowering plants have no right to bloom. Plants are also among the most effective air purifiers in the world of common houseplants. Research has documented their ability to absorb common indoor air pollutants, making them not only beautiful but genuinely functional. Keep the soil evenly moist. Peace lilies wilt dramatically when they're thirsty, which is a clear sign. Water them, and watch the leaves perk up again within hours. Avoid direct sunlight. White flowers in the darkest corners of your home. The most surprising promise on this entire list. Plant number 18. Pothose. Epipremnum aureum, the gold standard of low-light survival. Documented growing under fluorescent light for years without any other care. There's a story about a pothose growing in a shopping mall, falling from a planter on the top floor down 3 floors. Thriving under nothing but fluorescent lighting for years with regular watering and virtually no other care. Whether the exact details are accurate or not, the story feels true because the pothose is exactly that plant. Epipremnum aureum has become the universal symbol of low-light plant survival for good reason. It thrives in conditions that would kill virtually any other houseplant. Deep shade, fluorescent lighting, occasional neglect, temperature fluctuations, low humidity. The pothose handles it all and continues to produce vines covered in those characteristic heart-shaped leaves, green, gold, or marbled with white, depending on the variety. Science supports what every grower knows from experience. The pothose has developed extremely efficient photosynthesis systems that allow it to make the most of available light, which is why it thrives in shopping malls, offices, and the darkest corners of ordinary homes. Take a cutting and place it in water or soil. Observe how it grows. Change the water occasionally, or water the soil when it is dry. Let it cascade, climb, or trail. It's not subtle. It's just faithful. Once you have it, you'll always have it. Plant number 19, Sansevieria, mother-in-law's tongue. Dracaena trifasciata, almost literally indestructible. Documented surviving in mines, in air raid shelters, in near total darkness. I promised you this at the beginning of the video. Here it is. The Sansevieria, now reclassified as Dracaena trifasciata, has been documented surviving in conditions that would seem lethal to any living thing. Prolonged darkness, complete drought, extreme temperature changes, low humidity, inconsistent care. This plant endures it all and then sits there looking perfectly fine. The leaves are architectural, tall, erect, banded with lighter green or edged with yellow, almost sword-like in their clean, geometric form. They don't bend. They don't wilt. They don't sprawl. They stand erect in the corner of a room like a piece of sculpture. Its tolerance to low light is genuine and truly exceptional. The Sansevieria can grow in deep shade. Not just low light, but conditions approaching actual darkness. Its growth rate slows significantly under these conditions, but it survives. It adapts. Research has shown that its CM photosynthesis system, the same system that allows desert cacti to conserve water, is part of what makes it so remarkably resilient to multiple stress conditions simultaneously. Water once every 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the season. Allow the soil to dry out completely between waterings. Avoid overwatering. It's the only real mistake you can make. Place it in the darkest corner you have. She will return when you remember her, looking exactly the same as when you left her, unperturbed. Floor number 20, Floor ZZ. Zamioculca zamifolia, the legend that thrives where nothing else does. The ultimate in indoor gardening. And here we are, floor number 20th. The one I've saved for last, because it represents the limit of what's possible. This plant not only tolerates low light, but seems almost perfectly adapted to the kind of lighting conditions most homes actually have, and which most plants can't take advantage of. Zamioculca zamifolia produces tall stems covered in pairs of glossy, deep green leaves that look almost lacquered. The plant is striking in a subtle way. Not dramatic, not colorful, but with a quiet, polished elegance that makes it look like it belongs in a design magazine. And it grows in conditions that will defeat virtually all other plants on this list. The secret lies in their remarkable anatomy. ZZ plants grow from rhizomes, thick, potato-like underground stems that store water and nutrients. These rhizomes allow the plant to survive prolonged periods of drought and darkness without visible damage. The thick, waxy coating on each leaf minimizes water loss. In practice, this means you can put a ZZ plant in the darkest indoor room of your house, a windowless hallway, an interior bathroom, a room where you've completely given up on plants, and it will grow. Slowly, yes, but steadily. New stems will emerge, new leaves will unfurl, and the plant will maintain its glossy, polished appearance. Water once a month. Fertilize occasionally. Give it essentially nothing, and receive in return a plant that looks deliberately cared for and beautiful. It's like having a plant that does its own maintenance. 20 plants, and all of them with the same story behind them. The story is that darkness isn't the enemy of indoor growing. It's simply a different condition. A condition for which millions of years of evolution have prepared dozens of extraordinary plants. The dark hallway you once saw as a problem now looks different. The windowless bathroom is no longer wasted space. The office without natural light is no longer a place where plants will die. These are perfect habitats for these plants, and those plants were waiting for someone to find out. Now you know. The question now is, where do you start? If you want something completely out of the ordinary that breaks all the molds about succulents, go for Gasteria. If you're looking for maximum visual impact in the darkest room, choose the Calathea or the bird's nest fern. If you want a plant that does something no other plant does, something that will surprise you every night, the prayer plant. If you want real flowers in a dark corner, choose the peace lily. And if what you need is an absolute guarantee that you won't kill anything, go for the Sansevieria or the ZZ. Those two never fail. Herbalists, tell me in the comments, Which of these 20 are you going to add to your collection? Are you team dramatic foliage, team trailing vines, or team indestructible survivors? I read all the comments. Always, if this video has changed the way you see that dark corner of your house, that hallway that's been without plants for years, that bathroom you thought was impossible to fix, give it a like. Help others discover that darkness isn't an obstacle. It's an opportunity.